I got my tea. If you didn't notice, I sounded so congested today. Can you tell that that's me? That's me. Hello, how are you doing today? Welcome back. Today I really wanted to kind of go on the topic a little bit about when you are kind of, you're coming up in this world, we're trying to figure out what it is that we want to do, thinking about that path that we're on. Going back to a little bit about what I had previously in my previous video, what I had mentioned, talking about like, the long-term effects of, or like being able to think long-term into how a specific event or maybe a specific situation can kind of like long-term change how the course of your life goes. So I wanted to kind of talk more specifically about like my own experiences, and I wanted to share how I was doing so much for this certain goal of mine that I kind of realized like maybe wasn't going to give me, or wasn't going to provide that life that I wanted and the life that I envisioned for myself, and also how I changed my idea of that, and how I'm now actively trying to create the life that I want. And maybe that will give you some ideas, some inspiration about how you can go about it for yourself. A little brief of like where we are. Again, I'm 21 years old. I currently have my own beauty business. I'm a licensed esthetician. I do permanent makeup. I do facials. Outside of like my business though, I do MMA. I've been doing that for 9+ years, almost 10 years in 2025. So that's pretty exciting. Other things about myself, that I've yet to mention, I've mentioned the fact that I do consider myself like a very creative person. I do consider myself very artistic. I feel like I have a lot of outlets that aren't just like the things that I do like for work or, like exercise, I was really into fashion growing up. I'm still into fashion, but that was a really big part of my childhood life. I enjoyed making my own clothes. I enjoyed refashioning clothes a lot. I like to draw. I like to like do my own creation, like my own little designs on everything. I feel like I was always the type that like the second I got something, it was like, if I bought this, I could like change it like this and it'll be perfect. Or if I make it this color, if I add this to it, it's perfect. It's exactly my style. So while I was in like, middle school, high school, even younger than that, like if you would have asked me then like what my life plan was, I probably would have told you that I wanted to go to fashion school, I wanted to go to college, and that I wanted to, be in that industry rather than, what I'm doing right now. While I was in high school, I had applied to a fashion school in my state. I live in New York, so obviously, if I would have gone to fashion school, it would have been in the city, New York City, which, that still would have been really cool. I remember kind of feeling like, okay, I get these 4 years, to figure out what I gotta do my thing, then I can go out and be a little fashion gal in the city. So I feel like now sometimes I do think about that, how my life would have been if that would have happened. But I was in high school during COVID, so my junior year is when COVID hit. My school kind of gave me the option to stay at home. And if you knew anything about me, if there's anything to know about me, is that I'm not a very school-oriented person. I don't really have much against it, other than the fact that for me, it just like I didn't really feel like I flourished in that type of environment. And I had a lot of anxiety going to school. I didn't really love being there. I didn't really feel like I resonated with the work that we did and the things that we did and the people that I was around. So for me, like, it was very much, I was in and out, I had my headphones in a lot. It was kind of, for me personally, like a really nice, like, little treat, those last couple years. But because of it, it really gave me the chance to, like, kind of let go of those ideas of, like, being in a classroom and, like, having to sit there and listen to what this person is telling, like, the person in front of the room is telling you. When it came to applying to college and everything, by that point, I think before the pandemic, like, I really felt that was going to be a good option for me. I always kind of felt like I was still doing MMA throughout all of this. Like, I started training in MMA, I think I was like 6th, 7th grade. So by the time I was in high school, like, I had been doing it for a couple years, and it was something that I always envisioned being a part of my life. It was just really, it was kind of hard, I guess, then to kind of see me doing like more competitive, more professional like MMA fighting, which is like, you know, what I really, really wanted to do. So, you know, I was gonna apply to college, and I was, you know, at that point I was like, well, I'm gonna go to college, I'm gonna be in the city, I'm gonna, you know, still try to train, and we're gonna build ourselves up. We're gonna try to live life, enjoy. Now, you know, so what had happened is I applied, and I unfortunately got waitlisted. My guidance counselor at that time did not send my information in on time. She did not get it in on time, which was very unfortunate, and I was very frustrated about it because, you know, at that point already, like I was kind of like applying to appease, you know, like my family, not necessarily like my parents, I guess, but, you know, just like my family on a general whole, because my cousins, you know, for most of my cousins at this point, you know, most of like everybody that's older than me, I kind of fall like in the middle. Everybody had kind of gone to college. Everybody, you know, they had college degrees and everything, and I'm never gonna sit here and discredit anybody that goes to college. I think that type of education is important, and for so many people, I think it ultimately just kind of depends on like what you want to do and how you feel about going about it, which is the best route for you. I knew early on that even when I did apply, I knew early on that like this was not going to be it for me. I kind of knew the type of person I was. I knew the type of student I was. So that kind of leads me to now kind of discussing like I do, you know, sometimes like reflect on that fact when, you know, like what if I had spent these past 4 years being in school like so many other fellow classmates I had, you know, since graduating. But in a lot of ways, you know, I felt like these past 4 years since graduating, I've actually really been able to get my own experience, get my own, you know, it wasn't like a college experience definitely at all, but it was, you know, the experiences I needed to become this person that I am now. And I would say, you know, I'm really, you know, I have to remind myself like where we started and where we were starting from. So, you know, after I graduated high school, you know, I wasn't going to college. I was working a retail job. I worked there for like 3 months, and I was kind of like, retail was not for me, and I knew that. So I pretty much had quit that job, and then between the summer, like that summer of graduating, by the end of the summer, I was working at my corporate job. Once I got my license, my esthetician license, I started working at my corporate job, and from there, I was working. On top of me working at my job, I was also like apprenticing, and I was shadowing in a spa in Staten Island, and that's where I kind of got into, it's where I got into the permanent makeup, the microneedling, you know, the people, my instructors that I learned under, I'm forever grateful for them. They really like took me in and taught me so much, and really gave me an opportunity to that, you know, a lot of people I don't think would have, especially for someone that was like so fresh out of the gate. So I was doing all of that, you know, I was also still training. At that point, I was training in New Jersey. I was training in Hoboken. So, you know, when I would go to Staten Island, I would try to like coordinate those days. But even if I wasn't, you know, I would still drive down there. And backtracking this part a little bit, but what pretty much had happened, I feel like for me, I had graduated high school, and I wasn't gonna go to college. I also that year as well had quit the gym that I was training at. I started in 2015. So from 2015 up until I graduated high school, like when I turned 18 that year, like closer to the end of that year, I pretty much left my gym. I was, you know, I was frustrated with the lack of opportunity that I was getting. It was kind of one of those situations where I felt really stuck, and I felt like if I didn't leave, that I was never going to. And that to me was terrifying. That was more terrifying than having to go out on my own and like figure it all out all over again, be the new person at a place, have to, you know, get comfortable with new people. But honestly, in that time, I was able to, you know, since leaving that one gym to now, I've gone to so many places. I've been able to meet so many people within this sport and really build a like even bigger community for myself. I'm currently at a gym that I've been at for 3 years now. It's a very chill environment, and it's even cooler because it's definitely like a growing, like when this gym started, it was new. So it's really cool to be able to see it, how they kind of build it up and how it just begins to flourish in its own way. I just want everyone to know that just because you don't have like a similar experience that a lot of people are having, you know, especially specifically when it comes to like, you know, you see like all the kids you went to school with, you know, all your classmates, they went to college, and you know, they got to leave home, they got to leave our hometown, and they went off and did whatever they did. But you know, as much as I could sit here and say it frustrates me, I'm really glad that, you know, life went the way it did. Well, like I said previously, I know I'm not a very school-oriented person, but what I was a hustler. Like, I'm a hustler. I like having a lot on my plate. I like having a lot of things to do. It's even better because it's things that I love to do. For my life, like, what I really envision is, you know, having a lot to do and it all being things that I love doing. You know, how I'm actively trying to do that, we practice a lot of patience. It's a very patient, you gotta be really patient with yourself, because, you know, there's gonna be a lot of months, a lot of days and weeks where you don't feel adequate enough, you don't feel anything. So, you know, and even in those moments, like, you still have to get up, you still have to go about your day. You know, if you wrote down your goals, you know, your tasks for that day, you know, they still have to get done. That's just kind of, again, like how I try to think about it, how I try to go about it. Again, as much as I, you know, could dwell on what happened in the past and, you know, how it led me to this point, I am grateful to be here, and I'm grateful to kind of have access to things that I do. You know, you can always wish for things to be better, but having some type of struggle, having to really work for something is, I think, what will differentiate how you between others, and how you feel about, you know, once you finally achieve that thing, once you finally achieve whatever it is you've been working so hard towards, it feels that much better, and it feels that much more real. I know enough about myself at this point to understand that things that I really want, you know, I think life has a funny little way of just kind of making things happen for you. You know, your life kind of plays out in a way that you never thought possible, or, you know, deep down you thought it was unrealistic, but this is definitely, for me, more realistic than I guess the way I always envisioned my life to be beforehand. Being able to work on my own schedule, being able to kind of have the freedom to express myself the way I want to, and, you know, pursue my goals the way I want to as well. I don't think a lot of people really have that opportunity, and I think if you do, that you should definitely take it on. What it is that you feel deeply, you feel so drawn to execute and to do. Know that you're very capable of it. You're very capable of doing whatever it is that you want to do, and just know that if things don't really work out the way you want to, know that it was for a good reason. You know, it was for a good reason, and if you really want something to happen, I think it will really happen. So thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. If you made it all the way through this, have a great day. Bye, guys.